Hello everyone, we are Group 5 and we're here to discuss Lesson 1 Part 3 about learning to be a better student. So, let's start. So, according to Kuhn, in the field of human behavior, learning may be defined as relatively permanent about my practice and experience. Example dito ay yung spoiled, pagiging spoiled ng mga bata. So, we know naman na kapag spoiled ng mga bata, ang iba yung ugali. Paglaki yung parang gusto niya lahat nabibigay, parang gusto niya siya lagi nasusunod kasi nga na-spoiled siya, diba? So, doon natin makikita yung human behavior na isang tao. So, another example is yung natututunan natin yung mga nasa paligid. Kunwari, syempre lumalaki tayo, pumapasok tayo sa school, nalalaman natin na yun pala yung meaning nito, ganito pala yun. So, syempre, sabi nila kung dito, lumalaki tayo, syempre nag-iiba yung ugali natin dahil sa mga na-experience natin, na-encounter natin at nararanasan natin. So, yun yung kumbaga being a maturity nga. Nalaman mo na kung ano yung tama at mali. So, next. Alam kong isa rin kayo sa nagtanong nito, especially sa mga college student katulad ko. Syempre, tinanong ko rin to sa sarili ko. So, the first question is, why do people spend so much time in school? So, bakit ba natin kailangan mag-spend ng ganun katagal para lang mag-aral? I think 13, 15, or lalo na meron nadagdag na grade 11 or 12 sa curriculum natin, siguro 17 years tayong mag-aaral, ganun, diba? Bakit ganun sobrang katagal? Required ba talaga na mag-aral tayong ganun, diba? Sabi dito, having an education is an essential part of life, and even if school days are over, people still continue to learn. Thus, one should take advantage of every opportunity to learn and become a better person. So, kailangan pala natin talaga mag-aral para maging better person tayo, di ba? Siyempre, kapag nag-aral tayo sa school, doon natin malalaman yung mga interest natin, yung mga skills natin, doon natin malalaman na may talent pala tayo, diba? Para build natin yung better person. So, next question is, can people not attend school and still be successful? I think this question is possible. Kasi kung nanonood kayo ng mga documentaries, lalo na sa mga eyewitness, kung alam niyo yung programa yun, sobrang interesting yun, panoorin nyo rin about sa mga history yun and sa mga taong yun. Kasi may napanood ako nun sa eyewitness na isa silang pamilya magsasaka and their parents hindi kayang pag-aralin hindi siya kaya pag-aralin ng mga parents niya dahil sa kahirapan, walang pang tuition, walang pabili ng mga gamit sa school, diba? So, dahil sa murang edad, nagtatrabaho sila, tumutulong na lang sila sa parents nila, magsasaka din yung pinagtatrabaho nila. So, pagkatagal ng pagkasaka niya, so, nakabili din siya ng working niya. So, yun, possible siya, pero di ba kasi kapag wala kang pinag-aralan or hindi ka nakapunta sa school, ang baba ng tingin sa'yo ng mga tao na parang sasabihin na walang pinag-aralan, walang mararating sa buhay yan, ganun. Di ba, alam naman natin yung mga Pilipino, masyadong judgmental, di ba? Okay, next. So, what is learning? Learning does not always happen automatically, for there are many factors that affect the process of learning. Some of these factors are the characteristic of learning. So, factors that affect the process of learning. The characteristic of learners, example, the learner's intelligence, physiological condition, mindset, and interest. Yan, mga characteristic ng learners, mga interest natin, nahahanap natin yan sa pag-aaral, diba? So, the information, material to be learned, how interesting and comprehensive the material. The situation in which learning should take place, conduciveness of learning, venue, the teacher, and availability of materials, resources, yun. But in reality, diba, so iba-iba tayo ng mga diskarte natin. Yung pag-process natin kung paano tayo mag-aral, di ba? Syempre, iba-iba rin tayo ng levels of intelligence, mindset, interest, and acquisition, or learning of developing skills, di ba? Iba-iba naman tayo ng mga IQ level natin. So, yun. So, syempre, sa mga teachers din, magawa rin sila ng paraan ng pagtuturo nila para hindi maging boring yung pagtuturo nila, para ma-explain nila ng malawak yung kanilang lesson sa mga estudyante nila, maintindihan. So, next is, yan, physiological basis of learning. So, we have cerebrum and cortex. It's limbic system. So, cerebrum is the biggest part of our brain. It's the most highly developed part of the human brain. Function involve mental processing, thinking, perceiving, producing, understanding, knowledge. So, cerebrum is the uppermost part of our brain. It is also divided into two hemispheres, are called cerebral hemisphere. It contains the major lobes of the brain and is responsible for receiving and giving meaning to information from the sense organ, as well as controlling the body. It is located in front of our brain, right and left hemispheres. So, kung naaalala nyo si René Descartes, di ba, ang definition niya sa mind, yung mind daw ang nagpapagalaw sa ating katawan. So, it is same of cerebrum. So, cerebrum can control our muscle function and also control speech, thoughts, reading, writing, imitation of movement, coordination of movement, temperature, touch, vision, hearing, judgment, reasoning, problem solving, emotion, and learning. So next is cerebral cortex. So cortex means bark in the Latin appropriately. Conversely, cerebrum involved in several functions associated with learning, including determining intelligence, planning, and organization, process sensory information. So, it is the outermost layer of the cerebrum. So, yan. Makikita niyo yung picture yan. Yun yung nasa outermost lobe natin. Yan. Sobrang thin lang daw yan. So, yun. Sensory areas receive information related to sensation and include region like the primary somatosensory cortex, which process information about sensation like touch, pain, and temperature. Cerebral cortex to figure out the proper emotional response. We consequently have applied emotion or emotion that don't fit the situation in properly. So, ika nga nila, some blind people can see. So, those who have damage to the visual areas of the brain are blind only as far as they're aware of it. So, basically consciousness. So, even the blind daw or bulag, napopoint nila yung light without knowing that they're pointing. So, unbelievable ba na mapopoint daw nila yung light ng kahit bulag sila. So, diba, cerebral cortex daw, ito lang yung awareness for us na consciousness tayo. Ayun. So, the next one is hippocampus. So, hippocampus is responsible for processing and storing short-term memory. The name hippocampus is derived from Greek word hippocampus. Hippo meaning horse and campus means sea monster. Hippocampus is region of the brain that is associated primarily with memory. Hippocampus is thought to be principally involved in storing long-term memories and in making those memories resistant to forgetting, though this is a matter of debate. Kung nakikita niyo yung picture, ito yung hippocampus. Yan, maliit lang siya. Then, pag tinanggal daw yung hippocampus sa brain natin, magkakaroon ng damage yung memories natin. What I mean is, just like for example, my memories will be forgotten easily. Kunwari, even na gumawa tayo ng memories, even na gumawa tayo ng funny moments, after 5 minutes, makakalimutan ko rin yun because of the hippocampus. So just like for example, we watch a movie together, then after a few minutes, I never know that we watch a movie together. There was a video here in our PowerPoint. You can watch it later.
Henry
It'll give you
recorded
a
bodily
copy of
functions.
our
No
PowerPoint,
seizures,
or
though.
it'll give a
There
link.
was one
Okay, so in the
nuance,
story of
forgetting
the
what
video,
day it
there was
was.
a little boy named Henry Molaison and his doctor, Dr. Sowell. Henry had cracked his skull accidentally, and soon Henry begins having a seizures, blackout, and losing control of his body. So what is seizures? Seizures is a burst of uncontrolled electrical activity between brain cells, also called neurons or nerve cell. So nagkakos daw to ng abnormalities in muscle tone or movements. So ito yung kapag may nakikita kayong tao na bigla-bigla na lang nangingisay, so that called seizures. So because of his illness, he dropped on high school because he was desperate to get better soon. So he came to Dr. Seville, and Dr. Seville decided to remove his hippocampus in brain. The operation is success. His seizure virtually disappeared, and his IQ even improved. But there is one problem: is his memories. So yun nga, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, lahat daw ng memories niya is nakakalimutan niya. Even na paulit-ulitin niya sabihin ng isang word or phrases, ulit-ulitin niyang banggitin, makakalimutan din niya agad yun. So he wants to study na what is memories or what memories even mean. And he can study because makakalimutan din naman niya agad, diba? So bakit ba siya pag-aapalan niyan? So he tried to go off to the psychologist. He tried to get better, but suddenly he take many exam, but suddenly he never know the previous exam of the psychologist. So after that, he died at the age of 82 in the fistful of the room nurse. Then the scientists preserve his brain just like the scientists do of the brain of Einstein. So then he examined it of what happened of the brain of the Henry. So that was the story. It was an interesting, so you can watch it later. So that was a hippocampus. So the next is amygdala. So amygdala is responsible for emotion, survival, instinct, and memory. So yan, amygdala is a collection of cells near the base of the brain. There are two, one each hemisphere or side of the brain. This is where emotions are given meaning, remember, and attached to association and responses to them. The term amygdala means almond. Why almond? Because he looks alike almond. Here, you can look at that the picture. So amygdala is a part of the limbic system. So, yun, amygdala is a small region of the brain. Is temporal lobe of the brain if we divided the cerebral hemisphere into the four major lobes. Located the point where a line goes through your eye and through your ear in the side intersect in your brain. So, in amygdala, there was called fight or flight. So, early humans were exposed to the constant threatening by killed or injured by wild animals or other tribes. So, di ba meron mga kasi na unang panahon, yung mga ninuno natin, naghahunt sila ng mga animals to survive their lives, di ba? So, fight or flight is response evolved with an automatic response to physical danger that allows you to react quickly without thinking. So, ito daw yung kapag na-feel natin na we threatened or natatakot tayo. So, yung amygdala daw is nag-automatic siyang activities sa katawan natin. Just like for example na kunwari is na nakidnap tayo like that. So, pag nakidnap tayo, hindi natin alam yung gagawin natin. So, paano ba tayo makakatakas? Iba yun lang yung inisip natin. The fight or flight respond by sending out signals to release the stress hormones. So, to prepare your body to fight or run away. So, this response is triggered by emotion like fear, anxiety, aggression, and anger. So, in short, na amygdala, ito yung nag-a-allows to react quickly without thinking. Yung agad-agad tayo nagre-react, di tayo iisip, diba? Di ba maraming ganyan nangyayari sa mga Pilipino, yung agad-agad silang nagre-react pero di naman natin iniisip or hindi natin inaalam kung ano yung mga katotohanan, diba? Yun. So there was a part of the limbic system, which is a fear and threat detection, like I said before, then processing, positive stimuli, emotional memories, variety of the function. This four is the amygdala function. So next is the next part of this lesson is will be tackle of the next chapter. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Mir Joyce Adenia and I'll be reporting about physiological process of learning and types of learning. In physiological process of learning, there's a 6 stages, and the first stage is the stimulus to the environment. The stimulus is something that causes something else to happen, develop, or it becomes something else to be more active. Ito yung isang bagay na kapag nakita mo is matitrigger yung feelings mo, either matatakot, matutuwa, ma-excite, or malulungkot. Ito yung magiging respond mo sa isang bagay na yon. And the second stage is the sensory apparatus. These are the 5 senses: the sight, hear, taste, smell, and touch. These 5 senses serve as gateways for the brain to take notice or to understand and retain significant sensory data. And the third stage is the sensation. This is a process that allows our brain to take in informations via our 5 senses or the sensory apparatus. Also, sensation refers to the ability to detect or sense the physical qualities of our environment. And the fourth stage is the brain, where data may be used or stored in memory. This is where brain collects data on what stimulus and what you felt on the environment. The fifth stage is the perception, giving meaning to data. This is also happens in the brain. Dito na magkakaroon ng kabuluhan lahat ng informations, data na na-collect ng brain mo, and dito na rin may isip ng brain mo kung anong reaction and behavior mo because of that stimulus that triggers you, which is the last stage, the reaction and behavior. So, the example of this process is this picture. As you can see, there's a pizza. The pizza here is the stimulus. The nose is for sensory apparatus, for sense of smell, and the sensation is the smell of the pizza. That goes to the brain, where collects data and information and perception happens, and to give meaning kung anong reaction and behavior ng dog. So, for example, I have a dog. Pinakita ko yung pizza sa kanya. The pizza is the stimulus. Maaamoy ng dog, masisense niya kung ano yun. And the perception will give meaning kung anong magiging reaction ng dog and behavior. Ano bang usually reaction and behavior ng dog kapag nakakita ng food? Diba, the reaction is would be ma-excite, and the behavior is maglalaway, salivation. Yun yung respond ng dog nung nakita niya yung stimulus, which is the pizza. So that is the example of this process. And let's go to the next topic, which is the types of learning. Types of learning. Psychologists have discovered through experiments conducted on animals and its applicability to human beings that learning may occur in 2 ways. First is by association or associative learning, and by cognition or cognitive learning. Associative learning. It takes place by connecting a stimulus to reinforcement. The process involved in learning technically are known as classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov and operant condition by P.F. Skinner. These are conditioned responses or behavior can occur unconsciously or consciously within the individual. A classical conditioning is a form of learning whereby a conditioned stimulus becomes associated with unrelated unconditioned stimulus. And in order to produce a behavioral response known as a conditioned response. A Russian physiologist named Ivan Pavlov did some really famous research or experiment on dogs. As you can see in the picture, this is the classical conditioning or classical Pavlovian conditioning. The first picture, there's a bell and a dog. So, first, pinatunog ni Ivan Pavlov yung bell sa dog. So, ang response ng dog is wala lang, no response siya. The bell is the conditional stimulus or the neutral signal. And, nung pinakita naman ni Ivan Pavlov yung pagkain sa dog is, yung reflex niya or yung response ng dog is salivation. So, na-excite yung dog nung nakita niya yung pagkain. The food is the unconditioned stimulus or na-trigger yung dog na, ay, yung pagkain, syempre. After that, tinrain niya yung dog na patunugin yung bell and magpapakita niya yung food, papakainin niya yung aso. Hanggang sa na-train yung aso na once na marinig ng aso yung bell, may kasama ng pagkain yon. The dog learned that when they heard the bell, they would get fed. So, ganun yung experiment na kinonduct ni Ivan Pavlov. Another example ng classical conditioning is, halimbawa, nagkajowa ka. Siyempre, masaya, nagkaroon kaya ng theme song, ng memories together, but then, relationship nyo hindi nag-work, so nagkahiwalay kayo. So, halimbawa, marinig mo lang yung theme song, dati yung theme song na, ay, ano ba yung magiging reaction mo, di ba? Parang yun yung magre-remind sa'yo ng something in the past. So, parang kagaya lang yung sa dogs, yung kinonduct na experiment ni Pavlov sa dog na yung respond ng aso, na once na marinig niya yung bell is ma-excite kasi may kasama ng pagkain. Ang isipin ng dog na makakain siya kasi narinig niya yung bell. So, parang kagaya ng sa relationship, di ba? Pag narinig mo yung dating yung theme song ng jowa mo, syempre, maaalala mo, yung memories you together. Halimbawa pa ulit, yung sa pagluluto ng mama mo, ng nanay mo sa bahay, gano'n, paborito mong pagkain. So, parang pag naamoy mo yun, ay maaalala mo na, niluluto to sa akin dati ng nanay ko, gano'n. So, ganun po yung classical conditioning ni Ivan Pavlov. The next is operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. Operant conditioning is a type of associative learning process through which the strength of a behavior is modified by reinforcement or punishment. It is also a procedure that is used to bring about such learning. So, si B.F. Skinner is, gumawa rin siya ng experiment pero sa rats naman. And there's a box which is called Skinner box. Itong box na to is, merong laman na lever, bali yung lever nandun sa loob, and pallet dispenser na may lamang pagkain, tapos food cup kung saan lalabas yung pagkain, at electric grid sa sahig ng box. So, ang ginawa ni B.F. Skinner is, nilagay niya yung rat sa loob, and usual na behavior is, iikot-ikot, aalamin, yung instinct nila, palikot ang rat. So, paikot-ikot ang sa loob, and accidentally na-pull ng rat, ay na-push ng rat yung lever, and may lumabas na pagkain, and merong electric shock na lumabas. So, ang positive reinforcement doon is magkakaroon siya ng pagkain by pushing the lever. And the negative reinforcement is the rat was able to turn on the electric shocks by the floor produced by pressing the lever. The operant conditioning is yung may ginawa kang action at meron itong consequence na kasama. So, it's either positive consequence and negative consequence or positive and negative reinforcement. Halimbawa is inutusan ka ng nanay mo na magsaing and bantayan mo para hindi masunog o kung ano man. Nag-cellphone ka or nakalimutan mo na may sinaing palang nakasalang at nasunog yung sinaing. So, ano bang reinforcement nun? Of course, it's negative. Kasi papagalitan ka, tatalakan ka kasi nasunog yung sinaing kasi nakalimutan mo. That is the operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. The next type of learning is the cognitive learning. It is defined as learning through conscious mental activities like thinking, understanding, and remembering. In the cognitive approach, learning may occur in two ways. The first is latent learning and the second is observational learning. The latent learning is discovered by Edward Tolman. It is the ability to screen and encode data in the brain, analyze and assimilate new and stored data, and retrieve. The important aspect of this learning is the memory process and the formation of cognitive maps. So, Edward Tolman used a maze to test the ability of the rats kung gaano sila kabilis makakapunta sa dulo ng maze. What Tolman did is put the rats into a different group. The first group received a food reward for completing the maze and the second group received nothing after completing the maze. So, alin sa tingin yung dalawang groups ng rats na mas mabilis na natapos yung maze? So, if you're thinking the first group that received the food reward, you're thinking right. Because they had an incentive to complete the maze faster than the group that didn't get the food. So, because of this, hindi pa rin tinigil ni Tolman yung experiment niya. So, nagkaroon pa siya ng third group of rats to run the maze for 10 days nang walang incentive or reward. So, nung 11th day, binigyan na ni Tolman yung third group of rats ng reward or ng incentive nila is mas mabilis nilang natapos yung maze kesa dun sa first two groups of rats. Mas napabilis nilang natapos yung maze because of the latent learning. Sa 10 days nilang nandun na sa loob, syempre na laman na nila kung paano yung pasikot-sikot ng maze, kung alin ba yung nandito sa daan, ganun. Kaya mas mabilis natapos ng third group of rats yung maze. Example of latent learning is, diba, simula elementary tayo up to college is, nag-earthquake drill tayo. We are getting ready for the big one. So, kaya habang ngayong wala pa is, ang ginagawa ng schools natin is, pinagre-ready tayong mga student, teachers, faculty, kung anong gagawin, kung mangyari man yung the big one na yun. Sa pagpa-practice natin, once a year ata yan, or once a month, every 3 months, ganun. Alam na natin yung gagawin natin. We know the drill kung anong gagawin kapag nangyari na siya. So, syempre, pupunta tayo sa open place and do the duck, cover, and hold. So, ganun yung latent learning. We process sa memory, kabisado na natin kung anong gagawin. Kung mangyari man yung the big one na yon, alam na natin kung saan tayo pupunta, kung anong dapat kunin, yung mga important things lang. So, ganun po yung latent learning. And another type of learning under the cognitive learning is the observational learning discovered by Albert Bandura. People can also learn by observing and imitating a model, but most importantly, the learner should also know the consequences of the model's behavior for the behavior to be imitated. And there are 4 factors should be presented for learning through modeling to take place. And these are attention, retention, motor reproduction, and motivation or reinforcement. The attention. The learner should focus on the behavior of the model. So for example, sasali kayo ng dance competition and din yun ng choreographer. Yung choreographer is yung inyong model. You need to pay attention to your choreographer. You need to listen to what his advice on what to do pag nandun na kayo sa actual competition. The learner should store what he observed in memory for recall. So yun nga sa sinabi ko, kailangan niya matandaan or ng learner yung sasabihin, yung steps, because you pay attention, so you're able to remember or recall the steps and ano yung advice or tips na sinabi sa inyo ng choreographer ninyo. And motor reproduction, the learner should be able to perform the model's behavior from memory. So, natandaan naman ng learner yung mga tips, yung steps, kung anong gagawin, yung blockings, is able to perform the dance in the competition. The motivation or reinforcement, the learner's behavior should be reinforced for the imitated behavior to be repeated. So, ito na yung bunga ng attention, retention, and motor reproduction. The motivation or reinforcement could be positive or negative. Yun, nakapag-perform na, natandaan lahat, and nanalo kayo. That is the motivation and the reinforcement of the behavior na tinuro ng choreographer niya. Nanalo kayo sa competition or natalo kayo. Yun lang yan, yung positive and negative. The positive is yung nanalo kayo and nakuha nyo yung malaking cash prize. And the negative is natalo kayo. And of course, one of the positive din is yung may natutunan kayo doon sa naging experience nyo or yung journey niyo sa pagsali ng dance competition. And dun sa ginawa experiment ni Albert Bandura, gumawa naman siya ng experiment pero hindi na sa animals kundi sa mga bata naman. Gumawa siya ng 2 groups ng mga bata. So yung first group ng mga bata is nilagay niya sa isang kwarto and pinanood sila ng video na merong yung nasa video is may lalaki at yung lalaki may kausap na doll. So kinakausap ng lalaki yung doll ng mahinahon, kwelag, kinakamusta niya lang yung doll kung kamusta, gano'n. And the other group naman is pinasok sa isang kwarto na may video rin na pinanood sa mga bata na may isang lalaki at isang doll. Ang ginagawa naman ng lalaki is very aggressive siya sa doll. Sinusuntok niya, sinisipa niya, kumbaga binubugbog niya yung doll. So, inobserve nila yon, ni-record nila. And ang ginawa naman nila ngayon is nagpasok sila ng doll sa 2 room na yon. Nung nakita nung first group na bata, yung doll is inobserve nila Bandura kung anong magiging response ng mga bata doon sa doll. So, yung first group nga is yung pinanood na ng video is not aggressive. They are playful, nilaro lang nila yung dolls. And the other group naman, which is yung pangalawa na yung napanood nila is aggressive, yung lalaki sa doll is natutunan ng mga bata na observe nila na binubugbog nga. So, ang ginawa ng mga bata is pinagsisiparin yung doll, pinagsusuntok din. Ang naging response din nila is also aggressive. So, nakonduct nila yung research, yung kinalabasan nun, ginagaya ng mga bata kung ano yung nakita nila, ini-imitate nila. Nga sabi ng matatanda, kung ano yung pinapakita mo sa mga bata, yun din yung gagayahin nila. Kaya nagkaroon ng observation learning na gawa ni Albert Bandura.
So let's talk about metacognition. First, meta means beyond. Metacognition refers to thinking about thinking. Well, John Flavel introduced in 1979 that metacognition is the knowledge you have of your own cognitive process, which is your thinking. And he said, it is the ability to control your thinking process through various strategies such as organizing, monitoring, and adaptive. Lastly, it is also the ability to reflect upon the tasks or processes you undertake, select and utilize, and the appropriate strategies necessary in your intercultural interactions. Metacognition is considered as a critical component of successful learning. It involves self-regulation and self-reflection of strength, weaknesses, and the types of strategies you create. It is necessary the foundation in culturally intelligent leadership because it underlines how you think through a problem or situation and the strategies you create to address the situation or problem. So here are the three components of metacognition. First, we have metacognitive knowledge. Then, second, we have metacognitive experience. And lastly, we have the metacognitive strategies. Metacognitive knowledge, it involves learning processes in your beliefs about how you learn or how you think others learn. The task is also of learning and how you process information and the strategies you develop when you will create or use them. So, metacognitive experience, it is the internal response to learning. Your feelings and emotions serves as a feedback system to help you understand your progress and expectations and your comprehension and connection of the new information to the old. Lastly, the metacognitive strategies are the designed to monitor your process related to your learning and the task at hand. It is a mechanism for controlling your thinking activities and to ensure you are meeting your goals.
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning, guys. I am here to report about the study strategies. Study strategies, also known as study skills, are approaches or techniques used to maximize learning to get high grades, be successful in school, and are useful in every aspect of life. There is not one set of foolproof study strategies that will benefit everybody. People, and especially students, vary in their learning styles. Individuals learn differently using as basis their strengths, weaknesses, interests, and preference. Based on research data, there are 7 learning styles: the visual, physical, oral, verbal, logical, social, and solitary. The first one is the visual. Involves ease in learning that is presented with pictures, image, and color. Ito yung study or strategy na ginagawa ng mga estudyante. Like, tayo ngayon, nasa visual lang tayo, online class. So, example sa major natin, sa fundamentals, hindi natin nakikita ng actual yung mga dinnerware, flatware, kung paano gumawa ng folding sa napkin foldings. So, nasa visual lang tayo. Visual learning tayo ngayon. And next one is yung physical. Involves motor movements like drawing, building, and role-playing. Ito naman yung strategy na sa personal natin sila nakikita. Like, hindi sa monitor lang, sa personal natin sila nakikita. Like, yung normal classes. Ganun. Sa totoong buhay natin sila nakikita. Ito yung itsura ng ganito. Ito yung itsura ng flatware, dinnerware, hollowwares, kung paano mag-napkin folding, nakikita natin sila in person. Ganun naman yung physical. Yung third naman is yung aural. Involves listening, uses sound like music and recording. Ito naman yung strategies na kapag nagre-review or nagme-memorize ng mga speeches or nagre-review ng mga poems. Ayan. Nagpapakinig sila ng music, nature, classic, or anything na pwedeng makapag-focus sa kanila. Then, meron naman yung nire-record nila yung voice nila kapag nagkakabisado sila. Then, after nun, hanggang sa masabayan nila yung recording nila, papakinggan nila yun. Hanggang sa makabisado nila, masabayan nila yung boses nila. The next one is the verbal. Creates ease in learning through the use of spoken or written words. Ito naman yung kapag nagre-review na tayo, like, paulit-ulit natin siyang sinasabi. Paulit-ulit tayo nagme-memorize. Sinasabi natin siya. Hindi lang natin siya iniisip. Hindi lang natin siya memorize sa isip natin. Sinasabi natin siya. Or pwede rin sinusulat natin siya. May mga ganong students na sinusulat nila kung anong nire-review nila para mas matandaan nila. Like, 5 times nilang susulatin yon kahit gaano kahaba, basta kasi doon sila nakakapag-focus, doon yung effective sa kanila para makabisado or makapag-review sila. Next one is yung logical. Involves using reasoning, arguments to explain and understand concept and ideas. Etong sa logical, yun yan, gumagamit sila ng mga reasoning, mga arguments. Siguro yung pagkakaintindi ko dito is like, kapag nagre-review tayo, meron tayong mga keywords, diba? Gumagamit tayo ng mga keywords. Kung mahaba yung definition ng isang bagay, kumukuha tayo ng mga keywords para malaman natin na, ito yun. Like, ito yung keywords nun, or ito yung key sentences para malaman ko na ito yung sagot dun. Ayan. Next one is yung social. Involves ease in learning with people and preference for study group. Ayan. Ito madalas natin siyang ginagawa, 'di ba? Kapag nung normal pa, nagsi-study group tayo, nagtatanungan tayo kapag may upcoming quizzes tayo, nagtatanungan tayo ng mga questions, then may sasagot. Or sabay-sabay tayo nag-aaral sa library, ganun yung social. And last one is yung solitary. Preference to learning by himself apart from any form of social distraction. Ito naman yung pag nasa bahay lang tayo. Pag nasa bahay tayo, nagre-review tayo, mag-isa lang tayo. Then may mga students na mas prefer nila na mag-isa lang silang nagre-review, na walang kahit na sino, nasa closed room sila, mas nakakapag-focus sila dun sa nire-review nila. The next one is what is my learning style? Being aware of the learning styles can aid the student in coming up with study strategies that will help him get through the challenges of college life in particular and life in general. So, meron tayong mga iba't ibang paraan, mga strategies, para makapag-aral tayo. And then, student which ones complement their unique learning style. First one is, have a plan as to when is the best time to study and stick to this plan. So, kailangan meron tayong specific time kung kailan tayo mag-aaral, hindi yung kung kailan lang natin gusto. Like, kasi ako, ang best time ko sa pag-aaral is 6 p.m. until midnight. Yan, kasi mas gusto ko yung tahimik lang, wala na akong kahit na anong naririnig for distractions. Yan, tsaka mas okay din na meron kang time para sa pagsa-study, para hindi nasa-sacrifice yung time na pwede mong spend sa family mo or sa friends mo. Then, the next one is, start reviewing the most difficult subject first. Depende to sa student. Kung ano yung mas prefer nila, kung mas prefer nila na yung uunahin nila yung mas madaling subject or yung mas mahirap na subject. Ako, mas gusto kong inuuna yung mahirap na subject. Kasi, mas mahaba yung time na pwede kong gawin para pag-aralan pa yon. Tapos, sa next one, yung mga madadaling subjects na, like, may mga ideas na ako dito, hindi ko na siya masyado kailangang pag-focus sa hindi katulad ng mga mahihirap na subject. And next one is, have a specific place for studying. Ayan. Meron tayong mga specific study place. Like, sa kwarto lang, or gusto mo sa library, kung nung may pasok pa, like face-to-face, or pwede ring group study, na marami kayong nag-aaral. Ayan. Next one is, outline and write notes. Ayan, syempre kailangan syempre nag-aaral tayo, meron tayong mga notes, hindi mawawala yan. From grade school hanggang college, hindi mawawala na nag-write ka ng notes. Para yun yung, yun yung magsisilbing reviewer mo kung wala mang ibigay yung prof or teacher nyo na reviewer, meron kang sarili mong reviewer. And mas gamay mo yun kasi yun yung, yung way mo kung paano mo naiintindihan yung mga topics and discussions. Next one is use mnemonics or memory aids. Like, pwede rin gamitin yung pag-record ng voice. Tapos, pag nagre-review ka, pwede rin may music. May music ka habang nagre-review. Or pwede ka rin gumamit ng mga situations or words para maalala mo yung, kung ano yung, kunyari, topic nito. Ganito yung may nangyari dito, ganyan. Ito yung topic namin dito. Like, meron ka mga funny moments or words, phrases na maaalala mo na yun yung sagot doon, yun yung definition nun. The next one is take notes during lectures and review notes during weekends, or if possible, read through them every day. So yeah, kailangan natin yan na lagi tayong nagtitake ng notes during lectures kasi may mga times or madalas may mga information na wala sa book or modules na sariling informations ng mga prof natin, like sarili nilang experience and such. So, kailangan natin laging mag-take ng notes during lectures. And then, syempre, hindi tayo pwedeng nag-take lang ng notes, kailangan nire-review natin sila. And kung possible, every day natin siyang basahin, kahit briefly lang, kahit super saglit lang, para maalala mo lang siya, para ma-master mo siya. Para pagdating ng mga quizzes or tests, hindi mo na kailangan pang sobrang mag-spend ng time doon, kasi hindi mo, uulitin mo siyang aralin. Yan, kung nagbabasa ka everyday, ma-memorize mo siya, ma-master mo siya. Then, last one is yung study in groups. Syempre, pero depende pa rin sa tao to, yung study in groups. Kasi, excuse me, kasi may mga students na mas prefer nilang mag-isang mag-aral. Meron din namang gusto nilang maramihan. Pero, mostly ng mga kakilala kong students and mga kaibigan ko, mas gusto nila yung mag-isa lang sila. Yung walang kasama, like yung solitary, yung diniscuss ko kanina. Mas gusto nila na mag-isa lang sila kasi mas nakakapag-focus sila, then walang kahit na anong distraction. Kasi kapag nasa study groups ka, hindi may iwasan yung magkukwentuhan muna kayo bago kayo mag-review or mag-aral. May mga pag-uusapan pa, ganun-ganon. Pero sa iba naman, mas nakakatulong yung study groups kasi hindi sila makapag-focus. Mag-isa lang, ganun. Kapag may tanong sila, hindi nila maitanong sa iba or hindi naman nila pwedeng itanong sa sarili nila na hindi nila alam. So, mayroong communication kasama ng mga kaibigan mo or any ka-groups. Ayan. And, that is the end. Thank you!
Let's talk about managing your learning, which is a self-regulated learning. Self-regulated learning is a form of self-empowerment learning wherein the learner is active and self-guided in monitoring in his own study. The study is strategized and being discussed that can help a lot and start in the self-regulated learning processes. According to Code in 2001, the following techniques can further guide their own self-regulated learner. First, have a specific learning goal in mind. We, the learners, should know what topic they are studying and aims to accomplish on how it can help in their learning future topics. Second is have a learning strategy. Learners can refer to the strategies discussed and make them their own. Third, be your own teacher. Learners should take charge of their own learning by anticipating the significant points and learnings from the topic. Fourth, monitor progress. Learners should find ways to assess their progress. They can ask themselves questions, test themselves, or use study guides to determine their understanding of the topic that they have studied. Fifth is reinforce yourself. After a successful learning task, learners should have praised themselves and find ways to reward themselves for the patience and for the task that is being well done. Six is evaluate your progress and goals. Learners should check their progress. Are there the strategies chosen effective for the meeting of the goals of myself? 7 is take corrective action. If the learner's goal are not being met, they should look back and check what they have gone wrong and make the necessary changes or adjustments. And lastly, you need to boost your motivation. Learners should find ways to motivate themselves. For example, a learner may allow himself to watch his favorite TV shows or movies and spend an hour playing his favorite video game. Go to the mall and do a little window shopping or just relax after studying session. If the student is having other difficulties, the learner still find himself wanting of academic help, he should look for the ways of augment his knowledge through the school programs that they offer, tutorial or remedial classes.